Hello, lovely people. Today we are going to create a layout design inspired by a tic-tac-toe board. So tic-tac-toe board is a 3x3 grid, and you choose a line. So it can be diagonal, it can be horizontal, it can be vertical. For this one, I didn't actually choose a line per se. I just looked at the board and worked with something that inspired me, and then saw what would or wouldn't work. So I wound up with ink, sequins, and yellow, but also white, blue, and yellow. So I'm quite pleased with that. It really was quite an easy layout to pull together. Now I looked through my stash of papers and I pulled out this yellow hexagon paper and started playing around with some colours and some photos. So at this stage, I was looking at the board and I did have this kind of, well, I've got the yellow there and I quite like the way that looks with the photo. There's some blue in the photo and there's white in the photo. So let's have a play with that. And also, I like using ink and sequins, so we'll have a play with that too. Now, the blue that I'm using here is kind of a dusty blue. It's a very, very old sticker from a mini book. It's actually by Fancy Pants, so it's ridiculously old, this one. And as you can see, there's a couple of holes in it where it's supposed to go over the mini book pieces. I didn't bother. So I've already got my white, blue, and yellow. And now I'm going to play around with some textures. So these are by Seven Gypsies. They're architectures, and they're great fun to use, but I chose not to use any of them by the end of it. So I've gone back in and I'm pulling out embellishments that go with this white, blue, that are inky, that I can put sequins on, that kind of thing. So it really is just looking at what works, what doesn't work, and seeing what happens. I've got some of these stickers by Vicky Boutin, which I can colour, which is what I'm going to do. So I've got a blue ink and I also have the yellow ink, and I'm just going to use a paintbrush and some water to cover these and blend them together, and that again gives me to the colours I'm working with. So there are means and ways of doing of adding these colours without necessarily having papers in those colours. It could be in the embellishments, it could be in stickers that you use, or you could create it yourself. It also gives me the added bonus of having used ink, which just means I need some sequins in here. Really, really simple. And I've got these file tabs, which I'm just popping on now. These are ridiculously old. I'm talking like basic grey old, when they did paper. So I've used those up. Again, they're white, so they're working with the colour scheme quite nicely. I'm trying to stay towards this blue, white, and yellow colour scheme. I'm not adverse to adding other colours in. So, I could add some pinks in, but really the white, blue, and yellow works really well together. I can use some teals in there, which you can see I have. And it just gives me a different colour palette to work to, and I can look at those embellishments that I've got and say, actually, yeah, that could work. Actually, no, that doesn't work. See where it takes us. Now, on to the title, almost. I've got a cat sitting there in the middle, and this particular cat likes to sit on what we call Sentry Duty. So this cat is the organizer of the sentries. There's actually 3 of them, but he's the overseer. So this is going to be called Sentry Duty once I've actually finished sticking bits down. And that's my thinking process. I usually have a title in mind before I start my layout, but it might change or I might not have an idea. It all sort of comes together. It's very organic. Now, I'm going to use some ink and sequins on this because I love the idea of having some ink and sequins on there. And I'm just using some tweezers to dip the sequins in and just randomly chuck them about. I'm not thinking about the placement particularly, just that I want them randomly scattered around the edges of my photo, sort of in a kind of diagonal-ish line. I'm not being too precious about it. Now the sequins are kind of tealy, they're sparkly, they're iridescent, but they match in with the colour scheme because of those particular shades. I'm not going to worry about how they are or where they're going to be. I just want them randomly about and see what happens from there. And finally, some ink. So I've got some yellow ink. It's a bright yellow ink. I'm going to cover my photo with some scrap paper so that I don't get ink on the photo. And I'm just going to open the bottle and splatter mist about. Because why wouldn't I want to splatter mist about? That's the way these things work. Now, I'm going to grab out my letters. I always start with my letters out on the side rather than sticking them straight down, and then I can just mess around with them as I need without having to dig out each one individually. I just find this bit easier. So Sentry Duty, that's it. All sorted. I've used the white space in the photo to add my title. You can see that I've got 2 lines in the tic-tac-toe board, which I'm pretty smug about. And that's it. It's a really simple layout to pull together. There's not a huge amount of paper in there. Mainly I've relied on the embellishments for it. So I hope you have some fun. I hope it inspires you to create a layout. Leave any questions you've got in the comments box, and I'll see you soon. Take care. Bye.